Well, hello everybody. Welcome. This is Joe Van Cleve. Yes, I am an office supply junkie, as you well know if you watched this series before. I recently acquired this last week, a Rotring brand mechanical pencil. This is the Model 600 mechanical pencil in a 0.7 millimeter sized lead. Okay, to do this properly, so you don't have to look at my working man's hands. Okay. Alrighty, so the Rotring's Model 600 0.7 millimeter full metal black refillable mechanical pencil. Okay, so it has an interesting little triangular shaped cardboard package with a sleeve that comes off. And inside we find a little sheet here that lists a concise little description of their lineup of mechanical pencils. Okay, here is the pencil itself. So I believe the body is made of brass. It has a very rugged clip. It has a little knurled part on the back where you can indicate what hardness of lead you're using. The back cap you push in order to advance the lead. And of course you can push it in and then push the lead back in, retract the leads like that. Then if you pull the cap off, you have an eraser available. And if you pull the eraser off, these are replaceable, and it looks to me like the same kind of eraser as in a Pentel, the Pentel kind of erasers. And inside the back, of course, is a reservoir for more leads. So let's put that back in like that. Oh, by the way, I like the way this metal eraser holder kind of flares out. It holds it nice and tight when you push it in. It squeezes the eraser nicely. I've had some of the other mechanical pencils, the eraser tends to slip. Okay, the working end of the pencil, you have a nice knurled grip. And then there is a thick black pipe and then the thin pipe for the actual lead itself. So this is Rotring's classic design, the traditional design, and you might call it not pocket friendly because it has the thin pipe on the front. It's considered not pocket friendly because it'll poke a hole in your pocket. So this is a kind of a pencil that you'd want to use in a pencil holder, not just stick in your pocket. I like the weight of it. It's nicely balanced between the front of the pencil on your fingertips versus the back of the pencil on your side of your grip there. It just has a really nicely balanced feel to it. And of course you can't really beat the looks of it, at least in my taste. I really love the aesthetics of that. Black and red. What a great appearance that has. Well, okay. Let's extend some lead here. Has a nice weight in my hand. I'm writing on Triumph by Clairefontaine, the Triumph paper. Let's erase this little pencil mark I made. Not too bad. The eraser's a little hard, but that's probably what you want for pencil. The cap goes on and off with a nice amount of force. Nice and snug. It's not going to come loose, but it's not hard to pull off either. In the hand, it has a really nice balance. Now, of course, part of this is I'm testing the particular lead that came with this, which is HB, and it is a Rotring brand pencil lead, of course. It'll take any 0.7 millimeter leads. So that's a whole other subject matter, is comparing the leads of different manufacturers, but we're not really doing that this time. Nice feel to this mechanical pencil, it really is. Okay, let's weigh the thing. This is with a lead in it and with 2 extra refills in it, so it's 23 grams. Now I happen to have a couple other mechanical pencils here in my collection. We'll start with this Faber-Castell that I've had for a long time, and this is kind of an equivalent type of pencil. It has the little adjustable indicator up front for the kind of lead you're using. I think I'm missing the cap on the end, but anyways, this one is, oops, put it there, 13 or 14 grams, so lighter obviously. Another of my favorite mechanical pencils is the classic Pentel P207. It's a plastic-bodied pencil, and this is in a 0.7 millimeter. Now I'm using red leads on this one, which is why I've painted the end cap red. 11 grams. This is another Pentel. It has a metal knurled grip, but a plastic body, and then a little metal knurling on the back here. And this one is 17 grams. And then lastly in my collection is this Monteverde. This is a heavy brass pencil, and of course it's going to weigh more than the Rotring at 44 grams, but it's also a fatter pencil. There's a thicker grip. It doesn't have the knurling up on the grip part. It's really way down at the tip where the knurling is, which probably not very practical because you normally wouldn't choke down on the pencil that far. So I think for a standard diameter grip, this is pretty solid. It's the heaviest in my collection of the standard diameter pencils, and I really like the styling, the black and red color. The weight is real hefty. I think this is brass, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understand. One nice thing about having the hexagonal body and the heavy-duty clip is it's not going to easily roll off of a table. It's going to resist that, while at the same time it offers you the round knurled grip on the front. From a functionality standpoint, there's probably not that much different between this Rotring and the little Pentel P207. They both take 0.7 millimeter leads. They both seem to do an admirable job. The differences really come down to the aesthetics, the weight of it especially, and differences in the grip and the feel of it. So the Pentel is faceted, has a faceted body, but it's more of a round body, and it may not keep it from rolling off a table as much, except it does have a pretty hefty duty clip there. And instead of having knurling, of course, it has this striping, this grooving on the front, whereas the Rotring is certainly a heavier duty pencil. The body weight and the balance and the feel of your hand, and it has the knurling on the front instead of the grooving of the Pentel, and the classic hexagonal body type, body shape, which might keep it from perhaps rolling off the table. And then the little touches like the hardness indicator, the lead indicator is a nice thing. The difference in price, you know, these Pentels go for well under $10, and this one is over 20 easy. So it's at least 2, maybe 3 times as much expensive for the Rotring. So it's really about the aesthetics and the weight of it and what you like. But certainly the Pentels will last you a long time if you take care of them. I've had this one for over a decade. And I hope the Rotring serves me equally well. And one thing I think is interesting about the design of the back cap is the cap itself has a hole in it. You can actually see the eraser in there. I'm suspecting this might be a safety feature for when or if a young child might swallow it, it would not obstruct their airway. But nevertheless, it is an interesting feature. You can certainly see the eraser, and maybe you could tell perhaps whether it's worn out or not just by looking at it. But what a nice, handsome-looking mechanical pencil, huh? Now, you might be wondering, why would I have gotten a 0.7 millimeter lead mechanical pencil instead of the more common 0.5 millimeter. And if you look online like Amazon and different places, you'll certainly see that the 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencils are certainly much more prevalent. But I like the 0.7. I find the 0.5s, I tend to push a little hard and I tend to break the leads a little too often. The 0.7 is a really good compromise between more durability of the tip and, of course, having not too wide of a line. And so as you draw or write with this 0.7, if you keep the pencil at the same angle, you'll start to develop a chisel tip or a bevel tip to it, and you'll get a slightly wider line. And then if you rotate it 90 degrees, you'll get a really sharp, thin line as you're writing on the edge of that bevel. So you can modulate your line weight with a 0.7 millimeter as you're writing, and that's what I like about it. But even without that, you can still get a nice, thin enough line for certainly for handwriting. So the other thing is, if you do a little bit of sketching with these, you can get a little bit of shading with a 0.7. As I say, if you keep it beveled at an angle without turning it, you can get a flat, wide enough tip that you can kind of do some shading, and that's kind of a nice compromise. You don't necessarily need a specialty pencil just for shaving and a fine line pencil like a 0.5 for writing. You can kind of use the 0.7 as more of a universal kind of mechanical pencil, and that's what I love about them. Well, you might ask yourself, should I have a mechanical pencil at all, or should I just stick with the inexpensive, plain and simple wood case pencils? You know, I've advocated both kinds. I enjoy both wood case pencils and mechanical pencils, but I guess going forward in time, if you had to choose one or the other, perhaps you could argue, and it's difficult to really say, but perhaps you could argue that the mechanical pencil might be a little more sustainable. I mean, certainly it's made out of high-grade industrial metals, well, brass and aluminum, and it has some fancy painting and some mechanical parts that require really precise machining, whereas, you know, a wood case pencil, you need wood, and you're going to be using trees for that, et cetera, et cetera. As far as the graphite, though, the pencil lead itself, it's pretty close to the same thing. I mean, the 0.7 or 0.5 leads are certainly smaller, but they're manufactured in factories essentially very similar to the way the leads in a wood case pencil are. Same kind of technology, same kind of materials, basically. So it really comes down to, I think a lot of it comes down, at least right now, to your aesthetic preference. I really do like mechanical pencils. I like the weight of them. But sometimes you have no choice but to use a wood case pencil, and that's fine too. And perhaps, as I say, going forward, maybe we would opt to have just mechanical pencils. They might be a little more sustainable. In a pragmatic sense, though, if you are using pencils, of course, if you take a pencil out with you, maybe in a shoulder bag with your notebook, you're probably going to want to take a sharpener with you, and of course you'll have to deal with the shavings. And they constantly dull as you're using them, and they go from fine to blunt, whereas even the 0.7 leads in the mechanical pencils, the range of sharpness is much less variable. You can go from a chisel tip to a fine edge, but that's about it. It's not nearly like what a wood case pencil goes through in its life cycle. So the usage of these two pencils is certainly different in terms of the experience. I think there is some tradition involved in the enjoyment of wood case pencils. There is something about the simplicity of them. It is a low technology that's been around for hundreds of years, and I think that's a lot of why we enjoy them. They harken back perhaps to our youth, whereas a mechanical pencil is more of an adult tool that derives its legacy, its lineage more from drafting and the graphic arts. Between mechanical pencils and wood case pencils, though, there's also the issue of the simplicity versus complexity. A mechanical pencil, especially a precisely made device like this Rotring Model 600, is a complex device. It is a precision-made tool with a lot of finely machined parts. If you drop this, mechanical pencil onto a hard floor, in spite of the rugged weight of the body, the thin pipes or tubes on the tip of the pencil might bend, and it might cause the pencil to need to be sent back to the factory, might break it essentially. Whereas there's a certain simplicity, an elegant simplicity about a wood case pencil. Yeah, the pencil gets consumed. There's a certain amount of waste involved, but there is an elegant simplicity to a wood case pencil that's hard to deny, certainly. Rotring also make other mechanical pencils besides the Model 600. They have the Rapid Pro, and then they have the Model 800. The Model 800 has a twist and click, is what they call it, retractable mechanism, which enables it to be pocket friendly. It doesn't have the little pipe sticking off the end that might poke a hole in your pocket. But from what I've read, some of the reviews from the last few years, it looks like that particular model has had sporadic reliability issues with the tip being a little bit loose. So I kind of went with this classic Model 600, which is their original design. Now, they also have some lower end models on their website that are more plastic bodied, more in line with that blue Pentel that I showed you earlier. But this is a really classic mechanical pencil. It's just really super solid. It has the standard hexagonal body with the round knurled grip on the front. What a great tool. The clip is really hard. I mean, it's a real strong clip. It's real practical. It's going to actually hang onto your shirt pocket or wherever you put it at, and I really like that. I like the feature of having the indicator on the back for what kind of lead you're using. That's just classic mechanical pencil design. You know, we live in a great era of industrial design, and these are tools. In fact, if I look at the literature that Rotring supplies with the pencil, it says, "Thank you for choosing a new Rotring tool." And so to them, that's what they're marketing this as, is a tool. And it really is a drawing tool and a writing tool. You know, we live in a great time in this age. If you look at the bigger picture of human history, maybe 100 years from now, we don't know what the future is going to be like, but maybe we won't have too many writing instruments. Maybe handwriting will be long gone, a thing of the past. We don't know. I certainly hope it'll be around, and I hope 100 years from now we'll have good writing tools. But you think back maybe a couple hundred years in the past, we didn't have really precisely made mechanical pencils like this either. So we live in this narrow window of human history when we have such great tools like these to write with, and this is the kind of a tool that will last you a lifetime if you take care of it. And so slightly expensive. I mean, you know, it's not like a $5 mechanical pencil or anything, but what a wonderful tool, and I'm glad I bought it, and I look forward to using it more in the future. Well, I'm Joe Van Cleve, and I am an office supply junkie. Until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.